Today, I'm outlining the third plank of my Build Back Better program, mobilizing a 21st century care and elderly childhood education workforce to deal with the caregiving crisis, and it's a crisis in this country.
My name is Angela Lasaka. I am 50 years old, and it was my mom who I had taken care of for some time as a caregiver.
My name is Tony Traster. I am 44 years old, and I've cared for my mother, Eva Higgins.
It was kind of rough for her because, after losing my father, she just didn't know what to do or how to move forward. I think 2019, she started to notice that the food that she would eat wouldn't settle very well in her stomach. Her diverticulitis started to get a lot worse. It was under control for a bit, but then after a while, it just wasn't under control.
They were older when they got me, and so from the time I was probably 14 until they passed away. My dad passed away when I was 21, and my mother passed away when I was 26. And so for them, caregiving for them was really just the fact that they were older and making sure that there was somebody there in their lives and to do the things that they needed in order to keep just things in order for them, their health, their home, those types of things, that type of caregiving.
She was already in her 80s when things started to get a little decline. I mean, I had to make sure a lot that she had what she needed, like food for the week, things that she could do by herself. It started to become a little difficult because there were times where she would forget the stove was on. She'd walk away, go to the bathroom, or come back and go watch television. No clue that was burning.
With my mom, my mom hid it from us. She was a smoker. She smoked since she was 13 or 14 years old. So for her, she never quit. My dad actually quit smoking. He got cancer when I was 13, which is why I use that as my point of reference of time for care providing for them. We didn't have outside help a lot other than my mother and I going to a support group. When it came to her outside care, my mom was always a nice person. My mom was never mean. Other people will tell you something different, but that's just because they didn't understand my mom's humor. Her sense of humor was, very sarcastic. The one time that was probably the scariest for me was before I knew my mom had lung cancer, was when she said she felt like she was drowning. And I didn't know how to help her. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. She was, my mom's not a person who ever went to the hospital. She never went to a doctor. And when all of a sudden she told me she was scared and she couldn't breathe, and that she needed me to call 911, I knew it was a serious situation.
When she had to go to the hospital several times for that same issue, that's when the doctor said she's gonna need an operation. And my mom was like, I've been in and out of the hospital. I don't need this. I don't need to be going through this again. So then when she decided, no, I don't want to do this, they said she's going to be in hospice. And that's where more of the care started happening.
When it came time for her to go to hospice, and I didn't really know what hospice was then. I was only 21 at that time, and nobody really explained to me that hospice was taking your loved one home so they can die. I thought hospice was just they're good, instead of being in the hospital, they're at home. That's all that, it's a home hospital. And so I didn't really know that's what I was bringing my mom home to do. And so I was naive in that aspect. Although I was the primary person to care for her, my mother-in-law also helped me. And she would come because my mom watched my kids. So When my mom was sick at that point, I needed someone else to help me with my children. So my mother-in-law came, and she actually helped a lot with my mom. So during the day, she would be there and taking care of my kids as well as my mother. And then when my mom got really sick, all my brothers and sisters came, and we kind of rotated. And they told us, it was probably only going to be a couple weeks, and that really turned into less than a week.
That was the only time we ever really had a caregiver here. And from the day she came home, which was September 11th, to the day she passed, which is October 11th, it was a whole month. I just knew it's gonna change. Things are gonna change. But we adapt. We have to adapt because, when you're born, you go through that whole childhood, and they take care of you, bathe you, feed you, change you until you're older. And it just comes to a point where it comes full circle that your parents hit a point in their life when they go back to that. The funny thing is, I still have her voicemails. But I want to hear her voice and listen to them.
Is there any like advice you would have for anybody that maybe is or will be someday caregiving for somebody?
Just remember what your parents had to do to get you to where you are, and in ways to say thank you for that. Be there for them, and be humble about it, and be helpful about it.
All you're doing is doing the best you can, and that's all you can do. Don't beat yourself up over it. When things don't go good and it's a bad day, don't worry about it. Have yourself a nice bubble bath or a drink, and remember, take care of yourself, and to make time for yourself. It doesn't make you a bad person to say, I can't do that right now.
Even before the pandemic, millions of working families are faced with enormous financial and personal strains trying to raise their kids and care for their parents or loved ones who are living with disabilities. This is the so-called sandwich generation. Includes everyone from an 18-year-old daughter caring for her mom who suddenly gets sick to a 40-year-old dad raising his child and caring for his own aging parents. The joy and love are always there, but it's hard. I know it's hard. It's really, really hard.